Hi everybody, Katie Sutton here, intuitive channel, empathic healer, and founder of Zen Within Academy. I'm going to share with you your July 2021 energy themes. The first that we have this month is this idea of releasing resistance. The second is the flow of grace, and the third is clearing capitalism. So stay tuned for the rest of the July 2021 energy update. Hey everybody, I hope you're doing really well. June was kind of an intense month for me. I don't know about for you. We seem to be going through so many upgrades, so many changes so quickly, and I know that this is going to continue throughout the rest of the year, so I kind of feel a little bit like a broken record when I share that every month, but the intensity will continue as we move into July as well. And I have to tell you, some of the themes that came in for July are kind of whammies. And I feel like July is a bit of this reset for us. It is, mid-year here. We just moved through the summer solstice where I am. And, in July, I always feel like we have an opportunity to reset for the year and come back into some intentions that maybe we lost sight of that we had in January. And I really feel like we're set up to do that this month. So let me talk you through the themes that we have. The first is this idea of releasing resistance. And this theme has already come in pretty strongly, and I'm just at the end of June as I'm recording this. And what I'm noticing is that within our bodies, there is a resistance to change. And we're feeling that in a lot of different ways, like anxiety or tension in the body. But we're also feeling a lot of resistance blockers. And anything that we resist persists. And so for me, the way this has showed up is there's some things that I want to launch, some things that I want to put out there. And every single time I get ready to put myself out there in a new and a different way, there's resistance that comes up. And I'm pretty used to that. But this time there was some deeper things that were unwinding. And I think it was precipitated by the energetics of June, where we had some ancestral clearing happening. But what we're now going to be releasing this month is anywhere where we've locked into patterns of resistance based on those ancestral patterns, right? So we've done the clearing of what our parents and our parents' parents gave us, and now it's time for us to clear any resistance that we have in our own ego layer to stepping into our bigness. And there's always a bit of this every month. I feel like that this always comes up in some way, but it's really, really loud for the month of July. And so really pay attention to anything that you're in resistance to. And if it feels like you should be doing it, but you're having trouble getting the energy flow to make it happen, lean into wherever those resistance pockets are and look for any fears that you have. And specifically look for fears that you have around stepping into your next chapter, stepping into your bigness, being fully supported, being in your abundance, anything that you're trying to manifest. There's so much change happening for so many of us because we have been called after the last year and a half to really do some things differently and to live our lives differently because there's so much perspective that we were able to gain. And with that perspective comes this desire for some quick change. But astrologically, there are some things still in retrograde, and so we're going to be pushing up against that. And we're going to be invited to come into some patience and to come into some surrender and to come into some flow. And that takes me to the second theme that I want to cover with you, which is titled Flow of Grace. And this is kind of a multifaceted theme. The first part of it is this idea that we need to give ourselves grace. So when this resistance comes up, oftentimes it gets louder and it gets stronger because we go into self-judgment, we go into self-doubt, we go into guilt, we go into fix-it mode. And if we can just see that tendency and pull back from it a little bit and give ourselves a flow of grace, then maybe there's a lesson that's trying to come forward to be cleared. Or maybe there's a pattern that's ready to be cleared, right? Or maybe a lesson to be learned. And if we are constantly in judgment of ourselves and constantly beating ourselves up and being in shame and being in guilt, it's really hard to get to those patterns and get to those lessons that are trying to be released, right? It's really difficult to be in the flow of grace with ourselves if we're in judgment. And so this idea of giving ourselves grace is just hey, I didn't get what I wanted to get done today. I'm in overwhelm. There's a lot going on with me. And today I'm just going to give myself the grace that everything is okay just as I am. I'm okay just as I am. And, this is really important because self-love is something that so many of us struggle with. I don't know that I have a single client, myself included, that really and truly unconditionally loves themselves. It's not something that we are taught in our childhood. It's not something that is a natural theme here on this planet. And when we give ourselves grace, it's kind of like infusing the situation that we're in resistance to with self-love, right? We have this ability to pull out of trying to fix it or trying to make it better and give ourselves the grace of like, man, this is really hard for me right now. And if we can own it, right? If we can own it to somebody, that's even better. And I think sometimes giving ourselves grace is just that process of owning it, of saying, yeah, I'm really stuck and I could really use some help, or I could really use some positive words of affirmation, or I could really just use you cheering me on in the corner, right? As I'm trying to move through this block. And when we own that, right, this idea of, oh, well, I can give myself grace because look at this person over here who's not judging me for not being able to complete this task or get this thing off the ground or start this business or, get into this relationship or whatever it is that you're in resistance to. And if there's that resistance, right, and there's fear, one of the ways that we can start to release that fear is to bring in self-love and grace. And grace, to me, if I could describe it as a frequency, it's almost like walking in a field of flowers that are beautifully scented, and there's this breeze that kicks up and you can kind of just catch the aroma of those flowers. That to me is grace. It's like this whisper of energy that we can sometimes catch and ride the wave of so that we can flow through situations where we're in resistance. And it's okay to ask your guides, your team, whatever you believe in, for grace as well, right? Hey, I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm struggling. I need some flow of grace. I need some things to get a little bit easier. I need some support. And if you can drop into those pockets and spend a little time there in between the pieces of resistance that you're working on clearing, then time kind of starts to stretch and we start to feel a bit more expansive. And there's this joy that starts to permeate us at a deep level. It's this kind of soft joy that comes forward. And I know I feel like I'm kind of waxing poetically here about this, but it's such a distinct frequency that is so hard to put into words. But when somebody gives you grace, meaning you do something really awful to them and you apologize and they forgive you, that's grace, right? They look beyond whatever projection that was happening, whatever thing you were saying, and they say, you know what? It looks like you're having a really hard time, and I know you didn't mean what you said, and so I'm just going to forgive you for this. I'm just going to hold you in grace. I'm going to give you grace, and I'm going to just assume that you're doing the best that you can. And so the other half of this theme of grace is giving it to other people, right? And so if you don't know how to give it to yourself, start practicing with those that you love. I'm witnessing so much family energy being cleared right now, and so many relationships that have been really contentious coming to a head so that patterns can be cleared. And we started this in June, and those I think are going to continue throughout the back half of the year to come to the surface, because we can't take a lot of that stuff with us to 5D, to the next frequency band. And so it's important that when people are behaving badly, as best as we can, if we truly love them and we know that that's not their truth, meaning that they don't act like that all the time, they're not abusive to us, they're not doing something terrible to us, give them grace, right? See if you can be that person to hold the vision of who they really are. And last month I talked a lot about setting boundaries, right? And so the two things go together. Sometimes I think that we set boundaries and we forget about the grace part, right? And so the boundary may be, you're moving through something really hard and you're kind of hard for me to be around right now, and I need to take some time for myself. And then I can come back and I can be in this compassionate place with you and I can hold that space. But I'm moving through some really intense stuff too. And so I need to take some space, right? Those are boundaries with grace. We're speaking our truth. We're talking to what our needs are. We're realizing that this person needs us, but we're also putting ourselves first in that. And so we're navigating this, right? We're all learning this. And I know a lot of you that watch my videos are empaths. And so we're learning it really deeply right now, because we can't keep going through these upgrades at the pace that we are if we're holding all this stuff in our body, right? Because our bodies need a break. They need time to integrate. And so if we're holding for everybody else and we're not giving ourselves grace by setting boundaries and we're taking on everybody else's stuff, then we're going to have a really hard time integrating all these changes that are coming in, especially as we lead into Lionsgate in August. And so twofold, give yourself grace and give other people grace, but make sure that you're still taking care of yourself first, right? This is not about excusing bad behavior that is consistent, right? Those boundaries still need to be set. And so really just notice where you're not in compassion, pull back, give yourself grace. Oh, I need a minute. Okay. I'm going to take that minute. And then I'm going to re-engage with this person, and hopefully I can come in with an open heart and it can be a little bit easier. And if they have a reaction to you or they overreact, give them grace in that too. Okay? So that's the second theme. The first and the second really go together. And this third theme is not going to feel in alignment with the other two, but I promise that it is. So the third theme, and when this came in, I was in meditation like a week ago, the theme of clearing capitalism came in. And I was actually working on resistance. I was working on this resistance to taking some of these next steps in my business and putting some new content out there and doing some new things. And I was like, okay, whatever is going on, I need this to be cleared. And because mine was business related, all this money stuff was attached to it. And you know, my work is first and foremost about empowering you all and lifting you up and giving you the tools that you need to be your best selves and to navigate everything that we're all navigating. And the money part kind of comes second. But there were some deep-seated programs within my heart chakra that, as I was in this meditation, came to the surface. And the imagery that I got as I was in this meditation and feeling into this resistance and feeling into this programming is a whole bunch of advertising and a whole bunch of billboards and marketing. And I was like, okay, guys, I'm not connecting the dot here. Like, are you telling me that I need to do more marketing with this stuff? Like, what are you telling me? And what I realized is that I was resistant to putting new things out there because I could feel the energetics of the capitalistic marketing and kind of attachment energy that exists in our culture. And I didn't want to play into that. And I had to get neutral to it in order to move beyond it, in order to do it in a different way. And this is pretty common for me. When I'm in resistance to something, there's something that I'm afraid of that I need to get neutral to. And so this theme of clearing attachment or clearing capitalism is also about clearing attachment. And when I was seeing these billboards and all of this marketing, what I felt in my heart chakra was this void. And the way I've been kind of describing this to people, because it started to come up in session already, is that, you know, our society is created to give us the feeling that if we have money and if we have things that we're safe. And then when we feel safe, and that has created this sense of safety for us, they market to us and they keep adding on to that, right? They keep telling us that we need more and more and more to be okay. But if that energy of, hey, you're buying something to be okay, is going into this void space in the heart chakra and trying to fill that void space, that lack of love, that lack of connection with things, then it's falling flat, right? And what I saw, and I was hesitant to even share this, but what I saw is that the capitalistic structure that's been created here on this planet is literally feeding off of our energy. And I know that sounds a little conspiracy theory-like, but I could see it. I could see that every time we lean into filling that void with money, with things so that we can feel safe and we can feel okay, we're feeding this kind of machine that is a timeline and a scenario that most of us don't want to create.
And I was like, well, capitalism isn't all bad. Like our money structure and those kinds of things aren't bad. And my guides agreed, right? We were kind of having this conversation in this meditation. There's certain aspects of it, like there's an energy exchange that happens with money, and certain things make us happy, right? And we need certain things, but it's when we have this attachment. If we have an attachment that says, if I don't have this, I'm not okay. Or if I get this thing, then I'll be okay, right? That's like a future goal that we put out there. Well, if I have this house or this property or this trip, then I'll be happy. That's postponing our joy, and that's attaching to a future outcome that may or may not happen. And I believe that we all can be abundant here on this planet. I believe that we can all have enough, but this structure has to shift. And I am working with so many people right now who are changing jobs and changing careers and letting go of being in some of these structures that don't fit for them anymore, but they're so terrified to let go because they have so much conditioned programming from their ancestors all the way into present day, from past lives as well, that says, well, if I have these things, if I have a roof over my head and I have a house and I have this amount of money in my bank account and in my retirement account, I'm okay, right? But that's not true. The safety comes from within first. It comes from our connection to ourself first and foremost, and then it comes from our connection to source, to the earth. All of those things have to come first, and money comes second. Things come second, right? And if we're in this place of attachment, then we're going to have a really hard time bringing in true abundance, which looks like so much joy and so much connection and so much ease and so much flow. We are shutting ourselves down to that because we have these perceived views of what safety is. And I watch so many people struggle with this. And somebody told me the other day that something like 45% of everybody in the United States is going to change jobs this year. 45%. That has to be an astronomically high number, right? That just tells you how dissatisfied people are. And I wonder how many of those people are going to change jobs and then are going to go right back into feeling the same way because this capitalistic energy is there. And so this month, that's what we're going to be focusing on big time, is letting go of that attachment and clearing and coming into neutrality with money. And I've felt this theme coming since January, and I've been working really diligently to get neutral to the frequency of money because it's so heavy and it's so dense. But it's just an energy exchange, y'all, and there's plenty to go around. I know it doesn't feel like that, and I know there are a lot of people who don't have enough, and I don't want to downplay that, but it's time that we start to look at it differently so that we can start to help those people that need help, right? And capitalism isn't all bad, right? This is not me going, into some preachy mode here saying that, money is bad or having things is bad. Not at all, right? We just can't be doing it for safety or to fill a void. And so that is a big theme, right? And I really talked with my guides about changing the title or whatever, and they said, no, it needs to be Clearing Capitalism because it's going to get people's attention. And so this reset that we're going to do in July with this theme is super, super important. If you want to call in that life that you're trying to create, this is what you have to work with, right? We have to clear this out. So if you haven't joined a healing circle in a while, this may be a really important one for you to reset for the back half of the year, especially if you're trying to manifest new beginnings, new things, big things, make changes. If you're in that 45% that's trying to change jobs, this is really important for you. And so we're going to be focused on this theme in our July healing circle. And it's going to be a week later this month. It's going to be the third week of July on July 21st at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. And we're going to focus on clearing capitalism, attachment, healing our money story, a whole bunch of really important themes for all of us right now. So I hope you'll consider joining us for that. And very soon I will be launching this thing that I've been in resistance to, which is a new version of my level 1 awakening program that really helps you to navigate the energetics as an empath, as a healer, as somebody who's a way show or a light worker, whatever title you want to put on yourself. If you're just into spirituality, really learning how to work with the energetics and the flow of energy between people and healing your relationships and healing so many different things that create this this feeling of not being grounded and happy in our body. And so more to come on that. I'll be sharing some more information about that soon, but that is what's coming next for me. I'll be on retreat with several of you in July, which I'm really looking forward to, and there's some really important classes coming in for the fall as well that I'll share more about later. But I hope you all have a wonderful July. If you're celebrating Independence Day here in the United States, enjoy that and remember what it's really about. It's not about this capitalistic stuff, right? It's not about the stuff. It's about this idea of community and connection and coming together. And this idea of autonomy versus community is so huge for 2021. And this is part of the way that we're working out that energy. How can we all come together and create something beautiful and start to live this new earth that's landed here already that many of us know about? So I hope you have a great month. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in August. Bye.